family, Franz Xavier Engineering College, Tirunelveli welcomes you all. Electrical and Electronics Engineering Department was started in the year of 2002. The department is functioning with two PG courses such as Powertronics and Drives was started in the year 2011 and Power System Engineering was started in the year of 2013. We got recognized research center status from Anna University Chennai in the year 2017 and our department reaccredited by National Board of Accreditation, New Delhi from 2017. The department has a strong faculty strength who are committed and are specialized in various streams of electrical engineering. Also, we have DST, FIST supported Advanced Power Electronics and Thrice Laboratory and National Instruments Powered LabVIEW Academy.
Good morning to another present here. It gives me the immense pleasure to welcome you all on this seminar session under the topic An Overview to Project Management in IT Industry. This webinar is hosted by the Department of Triple and the Department of Alumni Association. On behalf of our Chairman, Dr. S. T.S. Babu, our Managing Director, Dr. Arun Babu, and our General Manager Development, Dr. J. Kumar, and our beloved Principal, Dr. Wayne Murugan, and Director of Alumni Association, Mr. Krishna Kumar, and actually Dr. P. Annapandi. I heartily welcome all the faculties and the heads in various institutions and the participants and the alumni of FXEC. I am very happy to introduce our chief guest, Mrs. BENITA Victory. At present, she is working as a project management officer in Tech Mahindra, Bangalore. She has experience of 5 to 7 years of experience in IT sector. The highlights behind the BENITA Victory is she awarded the best outgoing student of the college on the year 2014. Topper of the Triple Department during the year 2010 to 2014. She awarded the Anna University rank holder, certified as per the Project Management Professionals from the Project Management Institute, USA. She possesses strong communications and proven ability in managing the operations of IT project for 7 to 5 years. She possesses strong knowledge and hands-on experience in procurement method like fixed price and time and material pricing model. Proficiency in working in resource management and revenue management of the project and program. Having outstanding organizational and multitasking skills. Achievement pat on the back award from the organization thrice for excellent and dedicated work. Positive attitude, accepting new responsibilities, motivating teammates, and balancing work. Now, I hand over the session to our speaker to proceed the webinar.
Hello, everyone. Very good morning to all. It's my pleasure that I'm addressing the FX students after a long time. I thank God Almighty, my staff members, the FX management for giving me this opportunity. So here in this webinar, I'm just taking you walk through an overview to project management in IT industry. So here I'll just take you through the high level definitions of how a project is being managed in IT industry. So it is just an overview. It is not an in-depth concepts. I'll just give you the key concepts and high level definitions, and that's it. And with some layman examples so that you will have a better understanding of it. So this is just an overview to project management in IT industry. So first, project. What is a project? A project is a temporary endeavor with a beginning and an end. It creates a unique product, service, or result. So, a product is a definite thing, it is not an infinite thing. If a product is being run or if it is happening, if it is occurring again and again, it is called operations. But here we are just looking at only the project. So it is a definite with a beginning and an end. So for example, creating a software application or construction of a building or implementing a new business process, or renovating the kitchen. These are the layman examples for a project. So it is all has a definite start and definite end date. So in IT industry, the project lifecycle has five process groups or phases, we can say. Those are initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and control, and closing process. So it is just a cycle that goes through five different phases. And there are 10 knowledge areas. Those are integration, scope management, schedule management, cost management, quality management, resource management, communication management, risk management, procurement management, and stakeholder management. So these are the 10 knowledge areas across which the five process groups flow. So these are the five phases, and among these five phases, these 10 knowledge areas interacts. So it is just like a matrix of both, which gives you a better understanding of the project management. So the summary is like, when we give the matrix, so we will get into five process groups like initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and control, closing. 10 knowledge areas just we have seen, like integration management, scope management, schedule management, and so and so. And we are ending up with 49 processes in the overall project management. So it is not like 5 into 10. There are some standard processes. So thus we end up in 49 processes. So in these 49 processes, I'll just take you through the key process that makes a better understanding to you about project management. So the first one is project initiation phase. So in the project initiation phase, first we develop the project charter. Project charter is nothing but a base document that has the objectives of the project, high level deliverables, requirements, plan, assumptions, constraints, risk, resource, and schedule details. So it is all just the high level details about what the project is going to be, or how the project is going to be done. That is what the project charter. So in this project charter, the business case or vision is also given. Business case or vision is nothing but why this project has been undertaken by the organization, or what are the strategic goals that the project is going to achieve on behalf of the organization. So that is what the business case or vision, that is the ultimate goal why this project has been undertaken and what are the benefits of the project. And then this project charter formally authorizes the project and the project manager. Actually, this project charter is developed and designed by the project sponsor. Project sponsor is nothing but the one or who sponsors the project. So it is being designed by the project sponsor, and he authorizes the project as well as the project manager. And this is just an example of, or a template of a project charter. So it has the project title, project manager's name, project sponsor's name, project start date, end date, the business need, and project scope, deliverables, high level deliverables, and risk, issues, assumptions or dependencies, and the financial constraints or some goals, and the milestone schedules, and the project team members. That is, team members also just a few stakeholders, not everyone, and the approval committee who are going to approve if there are any change request arises in the project. And the second step is identifying stakeholders. A stakeholder is the one who impacts the project or gets impacted by the project positively or negatively. For example, project sponsor, project manager, team lead, team members, customer, vendor, senior management representatives, business analyst, sales manager, and operations manager. So they are the example of stakeholders. And in this process, we identify the stakeholder and create the stakeholder register. So stakeholder register is nothing but a document which contains the list of stakeholders with their basic information, interest, impact, requirements, and expectations. So this is just an easy example and a template of a stakeholder register. So it has the details about the project manager, project phase, whether it is initiation or project planning or whatever, how it is, and role of the stakeholders and name of the stakeholders, their contact category, whether they are internal to the organization or external to the organization is their category, and their interest towards the project and their impact towards their project and the requirements of the stakeholders. So this is just an example or a template of a stakeholder register. And the next phase is project planning phase. So in the project planning phase, we do develop the project management plan. So this is an overall project management plan. You may ask me a question that we have already designed the project charter which has the plan. Then why again why we are developing again a project management plan? So let me give you clear differentiation between these two. In project charter, I have already told you that we are just doing a high level project planning. It is not in depth. But here in this overall project management plan, we are giving some more in depth level of planning, the project management. So it is like it is more in depth than the project charter. So here we do define, prepare, and coordinate all subsidiary plans and integrating them into a comprehensive project management plan. So here there is a word called subsidiary plans. I will tell you what it is in the upcoming slides. So this project management plan is a central document that defines the basis of all project work. So this project management plan has the plan about the scope management, schedule management, cost management, quality management, risk management, resource management, procurement, and stakeholder management. So this project management plan integrates all its subsidiary plans. So the first step here is collecting requirements. So generally the project manager or the business analyst collects the requirements of all the stakeholders. So the stakeholders like project sponsor, developer, tester, project manager, business user or the customer or the user or the one who uses the project or uses the project output like product and other stakeholders. From all these stakeholders we are getting the requirements and we are documenting it. So that is called collecting the requirements. Generally brainstorming, brain writing or the techniques used to collect the requirements or surveys or questionnaires are used to collect the requirements. Brainstorming, I'll just give you a little brief detail about brainstorming. Brainstorming is nothing but gathering all the users or stakeholders together and raising up their ideas towards the project. So everybody gives their ideas, and these ideas should be aligned to the objectives of the organization and objectives of the project. So the such ranking will be happening, and the one which are highly ranked or that is closely associated with the organizations or strategy or strategic benefits are shortlisted and taken as requirements. So this is just a brief detail about how the requirements are collected from various stakeholders. And then the requirement document has been created. And then defining scope. So scope definition is nothing but creating or defining what to do and what work not to do. So we should have a clear idea about the do's and don'ts. So the scoping defines that, like what to do and what work not to do. And the PM defines the scope of the project, and the work should not be done more than and less than what is required. That is, exceeding the scope is also called as scope creep, is not a good practice. In most of the projects, we think that we should always exceed the customer's requirements or satisfactions. No, it is not like that. That is called goal plating or scope creeping. We should not do scope creeping. We should only do what is required by the customer or other stakeholders as given in the scope document. So the output of this defined scope process is the statement of work, which is signed by both the parties, like the customer and the supplier. The statement of work has all the details about what are the things to be done and by what time and by when and how the work needs to be done. All the scope of the work are given in the statement of work document, which is also called as SOW, statement of work. And the next one is creating WBS. WBS is nothing but work breakdown structure. So this work breakdown structure is also is the process of decomposing the scope of the project into small deliverable work packages. We are we are deconstructing this overall scope into small deliverables so that it does not allow the team member or the project manager to leave or to get the scope leaked through any crackages. It prevents the leakage of scope through any through any cracks. So this is the decomposing the scope of the project into smaller work packages or deliverable. So once this WBS is created, then we call that document as scope baseline. The baseline is nothing but the base upon which we are going to do our or execute our project. Then defining the activities. So in the previous step, we saw that we are getting some work packages. So in defining the activities, the work packages are further decomposed into achievable tasks or activities. For example, a work package may be some software module. For example, if I take in a medical pharmacy industry, if I take one functional, like if we click on one button, it might lead to several options, buying options online. So that is called work package. Clicking on one button and you are getting some pop-ups for selecting more options. This is a work package. Defining activities means how that work needs to be done in the backend so that this function is popping up for you on the website. Like you have to code for the button and you also have to code for the functionalities that pops up with the options for selecting what is required by the user. So I hope that you will get a clear idea between work packages and activities. Work packages or deliverables or interim deliverables. Activities or the achievable tasks which needs to be done to achieve the work package. And then sequencing activities. The activities that are broken down from the work packages are then sequenced. It actually, each and every activity has its own dependency with another activity. For example, in kitchen renovation project, only if the flooring happens, we can build the another story or any structure on the floor. So the first activity of flooring needs to be done so that the second activity of building another structure on the floor can happen. So these are the two tasks and these are the two activities and it needs to be sequenced. The first activity is flooring and the second activity is building a structure on the floor. So this is how we have to sequence the activities. So here there are activities like from the start to finish. We have so many activities like A, B, C, D, E, F, and it is all dependent on the previous president's activity and it gets finished at one point. So this is how the activities are to be sequenced. This is nothing but arranging the activities one by one as per their dependency with their precedence activities. And then estimating the activity duration. So here we calculate and estimate the duration of the activities. Duration is nothing but the period between or the time interval between the start and end date of the particular activity. So here to estimate the activity duration, we can refer to the historical records or we can check with the experts for their opinions. Few of the activity estimation techniques are like analogous estimation, parametric estimation, top down estimation, and bottom up estimation. So I'm not gonna take you through all these estimation in depth. You can just know it as an overview. Maybe in future we can just get into the deeper version of this. And the next one is develop schedule. So you might, on looking at the topic, you might think that what we have done then all these time about time, activity, duration, and all. And then now we are just looking at the schedule. What is the difference between these two? Let me tell you the difference. So schedule, here in this develop schedule, we are finalizing the schedule that has task, its start date, its end date, duration, and the flow of activities. It contains everything, that is the project calendars, the project dates, actual dates. It has everything. It is very much definitive about or objective about their details. And the project manager gets the approval from the respective stakeholders for their schedule. Mostly it is the customer and the project sponsor, but it depends again, it depends upon the project and it varies between the project. And the key output of this process develop schedule is schedule baseline. So I hope we have already seen one baseline in the earlier slides, that is scope baseline. And this is the second baseline, that is schedule baseline. And the next topic is estimating the cost. So this falls under another knowledge area, that is cost management. So here we are calculating the cost of each activities in the finalized schedule. And we sum up all the activities, or I'm sorry, we are summing up the cost of all the activities. And then to estimate the cost of all activities, we are checking up with the experts for their opinions. And here also we look at the historical records for what are the estimates that has been used for the similar previous projects in the organization. And here also the same estimation techniques like parametric estimation, analogous estimation, those are all being used here for estimating the cost. And then budgeting, determining the budget. So budget is nothing but financing, that is how much amount of that an organization has in the repository to complete the particular project, or how much amount an organization can fund to the project for its completion. So the budget is not equal to cost, because in the previous step we saw how to estimate the cost. Cost is not equal to budget. Cost is just the expenditure. Budget is the overall financing amount that an organization can lend to the project manager for completing the project. So project is not equal to cost, but project is equal to cost and reserve amount the addition of these two gives you the project budget of the project. And the reserve amount is nothing but an amount which has been reserved for any uncertain events in future. Uncertain events mean any event that may occur or may not occur. If occurs, then it might lead to some impact. It might lead to impact, or it may not also lead to an impact. But it is an uncertain event. It may or may not occur. So such accidental event, we call it uncertain event. And the output of this process determine budget is cost baseline. So this is the third baseline we are seeing in the project management. So the first one is scope baseline, second one is schedule baseline, and the third one is cost baseline. So these are the three major baselines in project management against which the performances of these three parameters are measured. So if there are any deviations, then we have certain procedures to follow that I will explain you in the upcoming slides. And the next one is plan quality management. So here the quality of the project is being planned, and how the quality will be managed and controlled throughout the project is also being planned here. So here the quality, you might get a question, what is actual definition of quality? Let me give you a actual definition of quality. Quality is the degree to which the product's requirements are met. In this process, the quality thresholds are defined. Thresholds are the maximum or minimum limit within which the quality should fall. It should not exceed the threshold level. And it also explains how the quality will be managed and controlled throughout the project. And the next one is estimating activity resources. So to do an activity, the project requires resources. The resources can be either physical or human resources. Physical resources in the sense any software licenses or special machinery products or tools, etc., or fall under physical resources. Human resources are nothing but the humans who handles the physical resources for the completion of the project. So in this process, estimate activity resources, it is we are estimating the number of resources required to complete the project along with their available days and determining their working hours. So the rewards and recognitions of the team members are also planned in this processes. And being given or given an knowledge, the we are giving the human resources the knowledge about their rewards and recognitions. And the next one is planning communications management. So here we are identifying the communication requirements of various stakeholders. That is, what information they need, how often they need, through which medium the information should be sent to them. So these are the basic communication requirements. So in this process, all these things are being planned in advance. So we also make possible ways how to fulfill these requirements. There are three major types of requirements we can uh, give as a subsidiary. So those are push communication, pull communication, and interactive communication. Push communication or nothing but formal email or voice mails. Pull communication or online videos or Wikipedia, any encyclopedia, or some SharePoint from where we can pull down the information. And the third one is interactive communication. That is nothing but the instant messaging, chatting, video conferencing, telecommunications, telephones. So all these fall under interactive communications. So in this planned communications management, all these communication requirements are planned in advance and it also makes what are the possible ways how to fulfill those requirements. And the next one is planning the risk management. So, what is risk? Are risk and issues same? No. Risk and issues are not same. A risk is an uncertain event that may positively or negatively affect the project. The positive risks are called opportunity. Example, decreasing price of a software in the market. So it is a positive risk for the buyer. So when the buyer wants to buy any software license in the market, if the price of the software is decreasing, then the buyer may wait that if it goes even beyond, even below their budget, that they can buy it, and they can have some profit over to it. So this is called positive risk. And the next one is negative risk. Negative risk are also called as threat. Example, earthquake, rain, attrition of the employees. Attrition is nothing but resignation of the employees, or leave, or the employees when they are leaving the company or organization. So in this process, we determine how the risks are identified, responded, managed, and controlled. Let me give you some brief details about what are all these and how are all these being planned. So the first step is identify risk. So in this process, the risk associated with the project are identified and recorded in a database. The register where the identified risks are listed down is called the risk register. The document where the details of the risks are mentioned is called the risk report. So these are the few risk resources. Risk resources are also called risk sources. Risk sources are also called as risk category under which many risk originates. So for better risk identification, the first find the risk source and then find the risk arises from the risk source or category. So these are the few examples for risk sources. For example, first one is ability. Ability is nothing but the ability of an employee or a physical resource about how much able he can perform a technical work in the project. If he has more ability, then it will be able to complete the project with much productivity. If the ability is less, then we will be only able to achieve the productivity, only able to achieve minimum productivity in while completing the project. And the next one is economic factors. So it is one of the major risk source which always we have to have an eye on during the project management. Economic factors is the economy of the, or the economic criteria of the environment, like what is the economy of our country or the country with whom we are doing the business. So if the economic situation getting reduced, or if it is goes high, then that is a risk for us. We have to either pay more than what we have agreed or less than what we have agreed. If we are paying less than what we have agreed, then it is a profit for us. If we are paying more than what we have agreed, then it is a loss for us. So we either have opportunity or threat in the from this risk sources. If the economy goes up, if the economic level goes up, then it is a it is for us to pay, it is a it is a loss for us. So and it is vice versa as well. And the next one is decisions. So decisions, the project team or management or the project manager takes also plays a vital role in defining the risk of the project. If for example, if a project manager makes a decision without thinking about or without referring the old works, then old records, then that time the decision may lead to a disaster. And also the expenditure. expenditure or the expenses. Sometimes the expenditure may go up or it may go low. So in such cases, the risk associated with expenditure varies. And also the natural disasters like earthquake, rain. So these also the risk associated with a project. So whatever the project it may be, this is also one of the risks. And the next one is risk prioritization. So once all the risks are identified, then ranking of risk happens. So ranking of risk, the risk prioritization is nothing but ranking of risk to find out which risk requires immediate attention and response. For example, probability and impact matrix is being used, or it is a key tool used to rank the risk. I just take you through probability and impact matrix. So probability is how often or what is the how often risk may occur, and the impact is what is its influence towards the parameters of the project. So for example, probability is it may likely to happen, or it may unlikely to happen, or it may medium likely to happen. And impact is it may majorly impact, or it may medium impact, or it may minor impact the project. So so here I have given the what is the impact that a project or a any parameter or risk in a project can have. So these are the medium and high impact and extreme impact and low impact. So if it is extremely impacting the project, then it needs immediate attention to be given high priority. And if it has only high impact towards the project, then it needs to be given the second priority. If it affects the project in a medium manner, then it needs to be given the third priority. And if the project's impact, if the risk's impact is very less, or it is very, very low, that it can be negligible, then it should be given the least priority, and it should be kept in the watch list for future monitoring. And then risk response planning. Once the risks are ordered or ranked, then we are planning the response to the risk. It means the strategy to be followed when an identified risk occurs. And we are planning the strategy for both threat and opportunity. Here some there are some strategies for threat I am giving, and the first one is avoiding the risk. We are for risk we are four major response planning. Those are avoiding, mitigating, transfer, and accept. Avoiding the risk is we are completely avoiding, or we are trying to reduce, not only reduce, completely eradicate the risk. For example, using a software standard software tools for the project delivery. If you are using some any of the cheaper software tools, then it may lead to some risk during the project execution. So at that point we are avoiding the risk and using standard software tools. And the next one is mitigating. Mitigating is reducing the occurrence of risk. It is not completely eradicating, but maybe it reduces it to certain level. For example, inspect all parts of the project to lift quality level and reduce the breakdown rate. And the next one is transferring the risk to another party. So here we do, for example, we do use insurance company to transfer the warranty cost to the insurance company, so that if any of the customer comes back with any issues with warranty, then the amount that needs to be spent for recovering or repairing the defect will be borne by the insurance company. The next one is accepting. Accepting the risk. If no other strategies are applicable, then we have to accept the risk. And the next one is strategies for opportunity. So there are four strategies for opportunity or positive risks. Those are exploiting, enhancing, sharing, and accepting. Exploiting is just making use of the risk. For example, if there are skilled employees available for one project, then he or she can be used for another project if there is enough time available for the resource. Just making use of the skilled employees of one project in another project. And the next one is enhancing. Enhancing is increasing the likelihood of the opportunity occurrence. For example, wait for some more time if you foresee the price reduction of the product in the market. Just we are trying to enhance the likelihood of the opportunity occurrence. And the next one is sharing. Sharing the opportunity. For example, a software license bought for one particular project can also be used for another project in the organization if there is validity available. And the next one is accepting the opportunity. Accept the opportunity if no other strategies are applicable. For example, if the forex value is getting reduced, then make use of this opportunity to pay the seller immediately so that you may not ending up with loss, rather than you may be ending up with profit of giving the seller or paying the seller less amount than what has already been agreed. And the next one is procurement planning. Procurement is the process of finding and agreeing to terms and acquiring goods, services, or works from an external source, often via a tendering or competitive bidding processes. So, procurement is, in simple terms, I can say it is purchasing the required work or service or products. So, this process includes make or buy analysis, finalizing the contract type, whether it is fixed price, time and material, or cost reimbursable, bid documents preparations like RFP, RFI, RFQ, procurement plan document preparation. How to handle procurement? So, make or buy analysis is the analysis taken by the organization whether we have to make the product for to prepare the deliverable which they have agreed with the customer, or buy the product from outside vendor. The second one is finalizing the contract type, whether it is fixed price. Fixed price in the sense whatever the service or whatever the product we are buying from the vendor should be of fixed price. No other price should be added to what we have already agreed. The time and material means if you are procuring an associate or a resource, human resource from the external vendor, then the amount of or the number of hours against which they have worked will be billed to the vendor or will billed to the buyer. For example, if an associate is working 12 hours in a day, and if the rate of 1 hour is $1, then $12 should be paid to the buyer, should be paid by the buyer to the vendor. And the next one is bid documents preparation. In here, RFP, RFI, RFQ are being prepared. These are nothing but request for proposal, request for information, and request for quotations. Request for proposal is the document which is being sent from the buyer to the seller for the proposals they want to get from the seller for particular product or service. Request for information is nothing but the information the buyer is asking for information from the seller to analyze whether this seller could be able to reach the reach in doing the completing the deliverable or service. The next one is request for quotation. Request for quotation is the commercials. So and so for so and so amount, this product will be purchased or this project product will be sold. So that is being given, prepared and given by the seller. And the next one is project plan document preparation. So here we are handling, we are planning how to handle the procurements. And the final planning procedure or process is planning stakeholder management. So here we are have planning how to handle the stakeholders, and the famous model that is used to plan this stakeholder management is grid model planning. It gives a better insight for stakeholder management. For example, it has a chart of four grids where it is drawn against the power and interest of the stakeholders. Here the power and the interest of the stakeholders are stated. If a stakeholder has high power and high interest, then they have to be managed closely. If they have low power and high interest, then they have to be kept informed. And then if they have low power and low interest, then they have to be monitored. If they have high power and low interest, then they have to be kept satisfied. So here, for example, for the stakeholders who has high power and low interest, or the senior management of the organization. So the senior management of the organization, they may have high power, but they may not have high interest in the project because they have so many other things to be completed as their key result area. So those associates or those stakeholders should be kept satisfied. And the next one is the associates or the resources who have high power and high interest. These are the stakeholders who are the team members. They have high power in the project to do the work, or they would have given the authority to do the work, and they also have the high interest. And here low power and low interest. Low power and low interest, they may not have high power. For example, any outsider to the project. So they may not have they may not have any power, and they don't have any interest also. So such stakeholders should be monitored even though they are not directly contacted by the project team. They just have to be kept monitored for avoiding any future risks. And the next one is high interest and low power. These are the associates or resources who have their own interest to get into learning new things about the project, but they may not have enough power to do it. So such resources or stakeholders should be kept informed about the project management so that the project may gain any information from such resources. So the next one is project execution. Now we have come to the third phase of project life cycle. So in this phase, the actual work is being executed. So here we first do acquire, develop, and manage project team. The resources of the project are being gathered here. In the planning phase, they were just planned how many resources are needed, but here they are gathered, trained, and made available for the project as per the resource management plan. The rewards and recognitions are also made clear to the employees for better motivation. The resources are then assigned with the tasks of the work of the project as per their skills and competency. The employees need not only to be co-located for working, they can also work virtually across the countries, because a project may not be based located in just one location. It might be wide across the globe. So the resources are also virtually connected wherever they work. The base location of the project's organization is termed as offshore location, and the client location of the project is always termed as on-site location. And the project manager is the one who manages all these resources of the project. And he is the key person who acquires, develops, and manages the project team. And the next one is conducting the procurements. So in the plan procurement management, we have seen that we do the make or buy analysis. In the execution phase, we do that. We take the decisions made from make or buy analysis and some material or work or deliverables of the project are outsourced to the vendor or from the seller. For example, purchasing a software application, that is Microsoft Office products, from outside vendor which are useful for the project execution rather than creating our own software applications. See, for example, a project may be of creating a software application for a retail business, but for to complete the project we may have to do so many reporting and presentations and all. So for that we may need Microsoft Office products like PowerPoint, Excel. I'm just giving you an example with layman definitions. So we might need such small software applications. So in this procurement phase, we may not have to create all those software applications by ourselves, because our ultimate goal is to complete the project which has been agreed with the customer. So we may have to buy or purchase all the software applications from the standard vendor, so that we will minimize the amount or minimize the time needs to complete the project. And the procurement processes are advertising about the procurement, conducting bid conferences between the seller and the buyer, receive the proposals from the seller, evaluate the proposals, negotiate the price of the project, and selecting the seller and signing the contract. Once the procurement is done, all the materials or tools that are needed to complete the project are procured. And the next one is we are directing and managing the project work. The project manager is the one who does it. This is the process where the planned work is implemented and executed by the team members. The PM of the team guides them and give them motivation to perform their work more productively and efficiently. The work packages received from the outsourced sellers, that is the procured one, or integrated with other project work. Progress status meetings are also conducted in this phase, and thus the communications are managed. The output of this process is project deliverables. The PM rewards the team members as per their rewards and recognition plan, and the PM also has to make sure that all the stakeholders' requirements are met and all the stakeholders are satisfied as per the customer requirements plan. And the next one is monitoring and controlling phase. So this is one of the interesting phase where we monitor the project, track the project, and control it whenever any deviation or variation happens in the project. So first, we monitor and control schedule, cost, and communications. So in schedule and cost, the schedule and cost performances of the project are measured, and then it is compared against the schedule and cost baselines respectively. And I hope that you all remember that we created the schedule and cost baselines during the schedule and cost management plan. So what we do is we just compare the results, performance results against the baselines, and find if there is any variations or deviations happening. We first have to check whether it is within the threshold. If it is not within the threshold, if it is against the control limit, then we have to do or we have to take necessary steps to tune or correct the performances so that it will satisfy the performance requirements of the project. So that's how the schedule and cost monitoring and controlling happening. And then monitoring and controlling the communications. So the communications like presentations, active listenings, project meetings, documents, updates between the stakeholders are monitored by the project manager, and there if there is any dissatisfaction among the stakeholders, then the communication plan needs to be changed as per the change control board. or change control board process. So we are looking into a new term called change control board. A change control board is a group of business team consisting of project sponsor, functional manager, senior management, and sometimes customer who checks the change request against the approved project plan and approves or rejects the change request as per the approval matrix and criteria. So this approval matrix or approval criteria is being developed in the project charter itself. I hope that you remember that we have seen something called acceptance criteria in the project charter in the beginning of this webinar. So what we do here is we are this change control board is checking these CRs against that acceptance criteria, and if it is within the acceptance criteria, then the change requests are approved. All the change requests arise during the monitoring and control processes goes through the change control board for approval. Only the approved change requests are then implemented in the project for further processing. And the next one is monitoring risks. So the risks that are identified during the planning stage are being monitored in this process. Whenever the identified risk occurs, the risk owners are alerted by the PM and the risk owners respond to the risk with the planned risk strategy. Any change to the planned risk strategy will be approved or rejected by the change control board and updated to the relevant stakeholders. The low impact risk or low rank list which were kept in the watch list are now here monitored for the occurrence so that it will be responded on time. So the watch list which had low impact are being monitored here in this monitor risk phase. And if any risk which were unidentified, that is which were not identified during the planning stage, if anything so occurs, then some workaround will be applied immediately as per the PM's advice. And the next one is monitoring and controlling the quality. It is one of the interesting topic. Here, the quality of the project of deliverable is measured, compared, and verified with the standard quality metrics of the project. So the quality metrics, that is the standard quality metrics, is being planned and derived in the quality management plan. If the quality of the project deliverable does not meet the standard quality metric, then some required changes ought to be taken and the project to correct the quality. This method also inspects and finds the flaw or bug in the project deliverable that may be a hindrance for the project deliverable to achieve its quality standard quality metric. So many techniques are used to monitor and control the quality of the project deliverable and to find the flaw of the project deliverable. So some of them are root cause analysis, statistical sampling, control chart analysis, scatter diagrams, and histograms. So I'll just make you walk through one of the interesting topics, that is root cause analysis. Root cause analysis is also called as Fishbone analysis, Ishikawa analysis, or YY analysis. So here the product's defect is given as in the head of the fish. So this structure, this complete structure is more like a fish, and here this is a head of the fish where the defect is being given. The defect is low developer velocity, and this is the tail of the fish, and these are the bones of the fish where the major reasons for this defect is being given. And what are these small bones? So these are the small bones that in turn give a clear in-depth reason for against the problem against which the problem may occur. So here the problem is low developer velocity, and it could have happened because of these four major parts of the project. Could be people, method, code, or systems. And the reasons could be this. For example, for people, team may not be working well together. Maybe it may need more training, or if the project is boring, then low developer velocity could happen. Or in the method category, the process may not be clear, or the methodology is not agile, or too many meetings and too many confusions may lead to low developer velocity. And here in the code category, too much technical depth or complexity may be high, or tests are hard to write, or there are no tests or no code at all. So these reasons may lead to low developer velocity. The last one is systems. Under this category, we have few reasons like deployments take too long, development reverse or down, development servers are down, database for developers is down. So if these happens, then this low developer velocity defect may occur. So this is nothing but the root cause analysis, where the root causes are given here and the major problem is given here, and the analysis needs to be done by the project manager to find out which root cause may would have caused this problem. So that needs to be picked up, and a solution against that root cause needs to be derived, and then that solution needs to be applied in the project. And then we have to check, or the project manager has to check whether the solution produced, whether the step produced the actual solution, or we have to still have to work on this root cause analysis and have to enhance the solution. And the next one is validating and control scope. The created project deliverables are verified during control quality process. The respective correctness happens during control quality process if required. Such corrected or verified deliverables are now validated against the scope of the project or the scope baseline. I hope that you remember the word scope baseline, which you have seen in the earlier slides. If the deliverable meets the scope, that is the acceptance criteria of the project, then it is submitted to the customer for acceptance. You have to note here that this is just the acceptance of the interim deliverables and not the complete product of the project acceptance. So this is just a good example of interim deliverables and complete product. So these are the small blocks which are the interim deliverables. So once all these interim deliverables are built together, we end up in completing the product. So in this validate or control scope process, we are just submitting the deliverable, interim deliverable to the customer and getting their acceptance. The complete product of the project will be submitted only during the closure phase of the project. And if the interim deliverables are not accepted by the customer or relevant stakeholders, or if it does not fulfill the approved scope stated in the statement of work document, then necessary changes are to be made in the execution plan as approved by the change control board. The validate and control scope process will come to an end once the interim deliverables are accepted by the customer or relevant stakeholders. And now we have reached the final phase, that is project closing phase. In the closing of the project or phase, we are following few procedures for project closure. The first one is we are handing over the project to the customer or the business user who uses the product, and invoicing and payments. So this is one of the key thing for which we are doing the project to the customer. Here, seller sends the invoices to the customer once the product is handed over to the customer. And the customer or buyer audits the invoices and makes the payment. The invoices are raised against the agreement made between the seller and the buyer. If there is any deviation between the any deviation in the invoicing or invoiced amount that has been sent from the seller to the buyer, then The buyer can always raise his voice against the seller for any clarification in the invoices before they make the payment. And evaluating the customer satisfaction. Here, the seller evaluates the customer satisfaction. If the satisfaction level is not up to the standard level, then the steps to improve the customer satisfaction should be scrutinized and implemented if it is within the scope of the project. And then we are documenting the lessons learned. The lessons learned is nothing but what are the things which we learned from the project. It includes encouraging feedback from the core team members. In this process, we document what worked, what did not work, the success reasons, the failure reasons, improvement steps in the future, and once the lessons learned are documented by the project team members and gathered by the project manager, the resources are released from the project to the common buffer or pool. And then those resources are being utilized for some other projects of the organization. And then finally, the documents are achieved by the project manager in the organization's database or repository for future project usages of the same organization. And thus, we have come to an end of this webinar that we have seen an overview of all the project management processes in an IT industry. As I have told you earlier, it is just an overview and not an in-depth view. The in-depth view has so many tools and techniques and so many calculations and flowcharts and diagrams for their analysis. This is just an overview. I hope you would have understand, and I have given all so many layman examples only. If you really have any further queries or doubts, you may always feel free to reach out to me in my LinkedIn profile. Thank you so much for patiently hearing my webinar. Thank you.
Honorable Chairman, Managing Director, General Manager Development and Director of Alumni Association, I have been asked to propose a vote of thanks in front of you on behalf of EEE Department and Director of Alumni Association. I extend a hearty vote of thanks for his dedication and his work. First of all, I would like to thank our beloved Principal Dr. Velmurugan for encouragement and support. Next, I would like to thank our beloved HOD Dr. P. Annapandu for organizing this event in a grand success. Next, I would like to thank a deep sense of appreciation to Mr. Vignesh for his work. I hearty thank to Mrs. BENITA Victory for his speech. The way he explained the topic is excellent. Last but not the least, I thank all the participants who can spend your valuable time with us. Thank you.